Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go to a pretty entertaining article titled, I want to meet someone rich. Is that so wrong? I'm 46 years old, earn $210,000 a year, and own a $700,000 home. I'm tired of dating losers. And a big shout out to Will for sending me the story or article. And guys, this article definitely is an example of the times we live in, and an example of how delusional some gals really are. This article, this was written into the website Market Watch, and this one was writing into obviously someone of financial knowledge and all that, and laying out her situation. And like it says here in the title, she's 46 years old, not 26, looking for a rich guy, 46. Makes $210,000 a year plus her bonus, owns a $700,000 house, and feels entitled to a rich guy. And I want to point out, she's not saying a guy that makes something comparable to what she makes. She's talking about a rich guy, higher up than her. Status, income, assets, all that. And what's the problem here? She's 46. Not exactly a spring chicken. So she's going to go through this whole thing here about why she feels she deserves this, how pretty much all other guys out there that aren't like her are losers. Kid you not. And she deserves this. And this guy's going to respond to her on the front of income and all that, and definitely putting her in her place. So I'm going to go through this whole thing here, and then I'm going to put her in her place in an area that he obviously can't, because he's working for a website and all that, about the reality of her being 46 and good freaking luck trying to attract a guy that's rich when he could easily get 20-somethings. She says here, Dear Quentin, I've reached the point in my life where I want to settle down. You're 46, now you're reaching the point you want to settle down? What have you been doing since, honey? But I recently had a disagreement with a friend of mine about my priorities, and I would appreciate your perspective. I'm 46 years old, college-educated, singleton, and earn $210,000 a year, not including my annual bonus. I paid off my student loans and own my own home. It's worth about $700,000, and there's about $400,000 left in the mortgage. Here's my issue. I want to meet someone rich. Is that so wrong? So, why do you feel entitled to somebody rich? You're not rich. I mean, her salary, $210,000 a year plus bonus, is very impressive. That's very nice. And in many parts of this country, a lot of people would consider it to be rich. But in other parts of this country, like San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, Boston, where I'm from, you're comfortable, but you're not rich. So why do you feel entitled to get someone rich? And why not somebody that makes the same amount as you? What I tell you guys about women always wanting somebody that does better than them and feeling entitled to it at 46. She says, my friend expressed dismay when I told her that. But I see wealth as a sign that someone is ambitious and aims high. I'm sick of dating losers. The last person I dated has been living in the same rent-controlled apartment for nearly 20 years. It's the size of my dining room. I know living in a rent-controlled apartment is something that is sought after in a city like Los Angeles, and it's envious. Maybe that was good when he was 20, but now he's nearly 50. So he's a loser because he's chosen to rent for 20 years. I'm all for it, as obviously owning property, but for some people, it doesn't work for them. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with renting if truly you're not interested in owning a home, or you move around a lot amongst many other things, or you don't want to deal with the hassle of it. Because I've known guys and gals actually that have chosen to rent. However, they make damn good incomes, and every month they put that extra money away and they invest it. And they're very wealthy. They just don't want to own their own property and all that, and that's their business. But on her point of view, they're losers. Right? It says here, am I being too judgmental? Well, more like you're delusional, and I'll come back to that in a moment. When I expressed my feelings about limiting my search to dating a wealthy man, my friend gave me a look and took a long, slow drink of her margarita. That was her way of showing disapproval. But I've worked hard to have what I have, and I don't see anything wrong with wanting a partner who has the same level of assets and ambitions as I have. I work as an interior designer, shocker, and my business continues to grow. P.S. I come from an upper middle class family, one that has always worked for what they have. My parents were both successful realtors, single for the holidays. Well, no wonder she's single, by the way. We're in the era of all the gals feel entitled to a guy 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, 6 inches or more down south, 6-pack, speaks the foreign language, has 9 degrees, all that. No surprise she's single. Now the guy's going to respond. And again, talked about her. I'm going to say this real quick, how she said that she feels that she wants a guy that is wealthy like her. Again, what she's talking about is a guy obviously with millions in assets, probably income and all that. And I'll come back to the why would he want to be with you when he could have someone in their 20s? Now, the guy from the website responds to her. And he says this, Dear single, if you objectify someone for earning less than your annual salary, be prepared for an even wealthier person to do the same to you. There are many people who earn a quarter of what you earn who would rightly see themselves as winners. The median household income in the United States hovers around $71,000 a year. Better to regard your own income as a gift rather than a barometer by which you measure to judge others. There's a big difference between wanting to date a guy who is wealthy and or has a job and is financially independent, and describing someone you date as a loser. It's possible that your friend quietly rolled his eyes at that. Perceptions of what constitutes wealthy are relative. The first suggests you believe you are owed the same yield on your relationship as you have earned or inherited from your parents in your own lifetime. That inheritance may include an education that enabled you to go to college and or money inherited from your parents. The second implies anyone who has not had the same opportunities as you or has not chosen a job that pays as well, such as a teacher, a nurse, a social worker, some of the most important professions in the world, is not up to par. Neither of these positions sit well with me. Guys, there are a lot of guys out there that have jobs that unfortunately don't pay that well, but let me tell you, are unbelievably important. Or they get paid well, but they don't get paid as much as she does, but she wouldn't give them the time of day. And real quick, I'll tell you a story, a little intermission here. 1 week ago, on December 23rd, I was about ready to call it quits for the weekend. And out of nowhere, we're having the big storm that was going across the country here. You all know about that. And it was very windy outside, getting really cold. And this massive wind gust hit. And all of a sudden, I hear kaboom outside my house. And lo and behold, a tree broke, came down, crashed next to my car, part of it on my car, knocked down the freaking power line. Somehow the electric was still on. Live wires on the sidewalk. And guess who had to deal with it? Called the fire department. They came by, roped off the area. All that, the cops were there. Next thing you know, the electric company came. And it's like 10 below zero wind chill out there. This is about 7 o'clock at night at this point. And these guys were roping off the area. I'm talking to them. Of course, great Christmas for me, huh? And pretty much they were going to have to cut the power when it was 10 below zero, wind chill, and then chainsaw up all the branches and everything and all that. A big freaking mess. These guys are not getting paid the kind of money she is, but these are good, hard-working, blue-collar guys. They're coming out like this. The firefighters, the police, the guys from the electric company and all that. And I went to stay at a friend's house that night, thank God he was nearby, because they had to cut the power. Next morning, first thing in the morning, the electrician was at 9 o'clock on the dot to take care of all the wiring and the problems and everything before everything could be turned back on. That guy, it was like 15 below zero then. Christmas Eve, he's out there doing his job, right? Good man. Then the inspector from the town came by to make sure the electrical work was done right outside. And then the electric company came, hooked everything back up again, and I had power again and got to come back home. All right? All the last minute. But all these guys would be losers in her point of view. I mean, she's a total asshole here. Had to tell that little story there, but the point is, there are a lot of good people out there that work hard, do things at the last minute. They're not going to get paid that she has, and she can send them to be losers. These guys are winners. Anyway, this guy goes on and says here, nearly half of the people who are dating said in this survey that financial transparency makes them more comfortable early on in the relationship. In other words, money matters. And yet more than a third of the people have hidden debt from their partners. Translation, they know money matters. That said, using wealth as the one filter for your search of life partner could limit your choices and put the desire for material things of a certain lifestyle above other important criteria: humility, kindness, intelligence, compassion, etc. They don't have Instagram filters for that. Before we congratulate ourselves on where we have ended up in life, it's important to take a reality check, ding, 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 about where we started. You want to find a partner who has a similar or large bank account balance to you. You may or may not share your outlook on life, financial goals, regardless of their net worth or income, or have similar views on rich versus poor. Most people are just lucky to own their own home. The median income needed to buy a typical home in the U.S. has risen to $88,300 a year, nearly $40,000 more than it was before the start of the pandemic. Lawrence Yun, chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, said last month, there's Silicon Valley's commercialization of people's personal lives, the lucrative crossroads of finance and romance, which results in people swiping left or right on a carousel of images. Notice he says carousel. Has brought new meaning to the dating market. And it is a market, a carousel of smiling faces hoping for their dream match. People swipe right or left based on a variety of factors. Dating sites like Hinge, Match, Tinder, and OkCupid are full of de facto economic indicators. Consciously or not, singletons use financial filters when choosing partners based on lifestyle, not real estate and clothing. A picture can tell a lot more about a person than they may be willing to reveal. So it's hard to criticize you for something that most people do in a myriad other ways. Just be mindful of the words you use and try not to allow one aspect of your life, however important it may be to you, to cloud your judgment. If you're looking at dollar signs in real estate, you may miss the other factors that comprise a healthy, happy relationship. Do you share the same values? Does he listen when you have something important to say? Is he consistent? Is he a man of his word? Does he share his time generously? Dating a rich guy won't make you happy, even if one person's rich and another person's moderately well off. The bitter truth is that you're not the first person to want to use wealth as a green light to swipe right. And you won't be the last. Just don't shortchange yourself in those other areas. So that ended his response, and being that he has to work for a website or whatever you want to call it, he has to obviously can't say what a lot of us are really thinking. But he hit the nail right on the head about it. It isn't just about the income and the dollar and cents and the house and all that, because there's a lot of other factors that are important. But tell that to your average gal nowadays who thinks she's entitled to the world. Now, here's the reality for me, and I don't have to answer to some website. This lady is 46 freaking years old. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of women out there that I've known in their 40s, hell, even their 50s, that look damn good for their age. I want to emphasize for their age. But if she thinks at 46 years old, she's going to get herself a quote-unquote rich guy who's probably, I'm guessing, in the same age range as her. She didn't say what age she's looking for, but I'm guessing she's probably thinking 40s, maybe 50. Good luck, honey, because those guys that'll be in the category of what she considers to be rich, they're not going to go for a gal who's 46. I don't care how cool she is. They're going to go for a gal in their 20s or maybe early 30s. Leonardo DiCaprio, 25 years old. That girl is 25. Whoosh, she's toast. Because he can. End of story. And I think he is, 46, 47 years old, not much older than me. Guys, when it comes to guys, we want, the number one thing is looks. Okay? Body type. Does she take care of herself? Is she healthy? Is she fit? Now, of course, if a guy himself as well takes care of himself, let's be fair here. It's about looks. That's the number one thing. Okay? That's great. She makes $210 a year plus bonus and has a high degree and all that. Hey, that's great. I respect grind, people making something themselves. But that does not turn a man on. A man is not going to be turned on by a woman's income, or how many degrees she has, or her status at her company, or whether she has the house paid for. That's not going to get us excited. That's not going to get us hard down there and chase after her. What gets us excited is she pretty? Does she take care of her body? Does she take care of her skin? Does she have long hair? Does she dress well? Is she fun to be around? Does she have a good personality? Is she feminine? We don't want these masculine chicks. Is she feminine? Does she let the guy lead? Is it minimal drama? These are qualities, both physically and personality-wise, that men are attracted to. Not your income, your status, how many degrees you have, you own your own house. And again, back to the fact that she's 46. Here's what's happening with a gal at 46. Her boobs are sagging. Her hair around her hoo-ha is turning gray. Her hair up here is turning gray unless she's having it dyed. There's lots of wrinkles around the eyes. I can go on and on. And you can have damn looking girls that, sure, we're all going to age. Okay, fine, I get that. But still, don't act like you're so high and mighty because your typical wealthy guy ain't going to go for that. And you obviously don't have a good personality. Obviously, you're shallow. Obviously, you're superficial. So even if, you're not going to get that guy. End of story. And if you think that, and also I want to point out, notice she's not saying a guy who makes something around what I make. I got no problem with anybody wanting somebody kind of on their level because they have something in common and all that. And, in terms of income, you don't want to be, if you're making a lot of money, guys, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and you get involved with a gal or marry a gal that makes far less, you could be taken advantage of, definitely. So if you're looking for someone that's along your income level and a certain level of education because you like to have certain things in common, that's fine. But that's not the case here. She wants a guy way above her. That's what she feels entitled to. Good freaking luck. But that is the level of delusion nowadays, where the average gals feel entitled to guys that are a very small percentage of the population. What percentage of the population really of men are above 6 feet tall? What percentage of the population make more than $100,000 a year? It's becoming more and more because of inflation and all that, but you get my point. What percentage have a six-pack or very fit? What percentage have a sausage 6 inches or more? What percentage have advanced degrees? Now you put all that together, and what percentage do you think has all those? And yet a lot of gals nowadays feel entitled to that. And if they don't get that, they throw a tantrum. So good luck, honey. You might want to reevaluate your priorities here. And what the hell were you doing all in your 20s and 30s? And now you're ready to settle down at 46? That ain't going to happen. And I know a lot of gals. I know 2 girls in particular. I can picture them right now in their 40s, about her age. Hell, one of them might be the one writing this in. I spent their 20s and 30s. Just next with every guy. No guy was good enough. Then they get to their 40s and all of a sudden are bawling their eyes out because they can't find a man and don't have a family and have resorted to medical science to have the kids for them. You know what I mean? So this is what happened. Now, I'm going to real quick, because this is fun, it's the holidays. There's an old story that has gone around for a while, and I did this once about 2.5 years ago when I first started the channel. It's a story about this woman from New York, this is more than a decade old, who wrote in a post looking for a rich man. And it was responded by a banker. And a lot of people think that the banker was Jamie Dimon, who is now the chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, the largest U.S. bank by assets, putting her in her place. And that'll be a pretty fun one here to read real quick to end this story because it matches up. Except in this story, this gal is in her 20s as opposed to her 40s. So it says, and a lot of you I know have heard this story, and it's debated whether it was Jamie Dimon who did this or not, but I'll read it anyway. She says here, "What am I doing wrong? Okay, I'm tired of being around the bush. I'm beautiful, spectacularly beautiful, 25-year-old girl. I'm articulate and classy. I'm not from New York. I'm looking to get married to a guy who makes at least $500,000 a year." Now, keep in mind, gentlemen, this was well over a decade ago when $500,000 had a purchasing power of a lot more than it does today. I know how that sounds, but keep in mind that $1 million a year is middle class in New York City. This is back then. So I don't think I'm overreaching at all. Are there any guys who make $500,000 or more on this board? Any wise? Could you send me some tips? I date a businessman who makes an average around 100 to 150, but that's where I seem to hit a roadblock. 150 a year won't get me to Central Park West. I know a woman in my yoga class who is married to an investment banker and lives in Tribeca, and she's not as pretty as I am, nor is she a great genius. So what is she doing right? How do I get to her level? Here are my questions specifically. Number 1, where do you single rich men hang out? Give me specifics: bars, restaurants, and gyms. So she will go to those places and put on the act. She'll get her terminator radar going, finding that guy who makes a lot of money and who probably she can tell he's a nice guy, and put on the show of attention and all that for him to rope him in. Number 2, what are you looking for in a mate? Be honest, guys. You won't hurt my feelings. Number 3, is there an age range I should be targeting? I'm 25. Next, Why are some women living lavish lifestyles on the Upper East Side so plain? I've seen really plain Jane boring types who have nothing to offer married to incredibly wealthy guys. I've seen drop-dead gorgeous girls in singles bars in the East Village. What's the story there? She really thinks highly of herself. Next one. Jobs I should look out for. Everyone knows lawyer, investment banker, or doctor. How much do these guys really make? And where do they hang out? Where do the hedge fund guys hang out? Next one. How do you decide marriage versus just girlfriend? I'm looking for marriage only. Well, of course marriage only, because that locks her in. Please hold your insults. I'm putting myself out there in an honest way. Most beautiful women are superficial. And you're not? At least I'm being upfront about it. I would be searching for these kind of guys if I wasn't able to match them in looks, culture, sophistication, and keeping a nice home and hearth. A rich, successful executive responds with such class and awesomeness that made me feel better about the world. Now, she posted this thing online, and it got back to the person that wrote this. Now, again, the story is that it was Jamie Dimon, chairman and CEO of JP Morgan. And some people say, why would he be looking at that thing? Well, probably somebody sent it to him if that was indeed him. Now, listen to his response from the perspective of a banker. He says here, Dear such and such, I read your post. I read your posting with great interest and have thought meaningfully about your dilemma. I offer the following analysis of your predicament. Firstly, I'm not wasting your time. I qualify as a guy who fits your bill. That is, I make more than $500,000 per year. That said, here's how I see it. Yeah, well, as chairman and CEO of JP Morgan, he makes a hell of a lot more than $500,000 a year now. He says, your offer, from the perspective of a guy like me, is plain and simple a crappy business deal. Here's why. Cutting through all the BS, what you suggest is a simple trade. You bring your looks to the party, and I bring my money. Fine, simple. But here's the rub. Your looks will fade and my money will likely continue into perpetuity. In fact, it is very likely my income increases, but it's absolutely certainty that you won't be getting any more beautiful. Yes, when a woman hits 30, it's like getting a new car and driving it off the dealership lot. That is going to immediately in value. When a woman hits 30, and they all know this, that's when their street value changes dramatically. The prime is the late teens and 20s. Doesn't mean you can't have a beautiful woman in her 30s. Of course you do. But it's not the same. And it changes, and they all know this. And again, going back to the woman in the original story who's 46 years old, she's 46, 4 years from 50. And he's talking to a 25-year-old. He says, so in economic terms, you are a depreciating asset and I'm an earning asset. Not only are you a depreciating asset, your depreciation accelerates. Let me explain. You are 25 now and will likely stay pretty hot for the next 5 years, but less so each year. Then the fade begins in earnest. By 35, stick a fork in you. He knows, because 35, boobs are starting to sag. Gray hair is starting to show up down south. Definitely up here. Wrinkles are coming in. A lot of other things. It is what it is. Depreciating asset, because again, she's talking all about dollars and cents here, so he's responding in kind. Depreciating asset, well, a guy is an, increasing asset. Whatever you want to call it. He says, so in Wall Street terms, we would call you a trading position, not a buy and hold. Hence, the rub, marriage. It doesn't make good business sense to buy you, which is what you're asking. So I'd rather lease. In case you think I'm being cruel, I would say the following. If my money were to go away, so would you. So when your beauty fades, I need an out. It's as simple as that. So a deal that makes sense is dating, not marriage. Separately, I was taught early in my career about efficient markets, so I wonder why a gal as articulate, classy, and spectacularly beautiful as you have been unable to find your sugar daddy. I find it hard to believe that you are as gorgeous as you say you are, that the $500,000 hasn't found you, and it's not only for a tryout. Anyway, why couldn't she find the guy beforehand? By the way, you could always find a way to make your own money, and then we wouldn't need to have this difficult conversation. With all that said, I must say you are going about it the right way. Classic pump and dump. I hope this is helpful, and if you want to enter into some sort of lease, let me know. So there you go. And again, very good point. if you want that kind of income and lifestyle, why don't you do something about that? Why don't you find a way on your own by taking calculated risks and working hard and working smart to make something of yourself? You don't have to rely on some sucker, because that's what a lot of these guys are, suckers. They get roped in by these girls. And why haven't you found that guy just yet? So I like how you put that in those particular terms. Again, it's a big mystery who wrote that. Was it Jamie Dimon or some other banker? I don't know. But the point is, he hit the nail on the head. And so maybe, just maybe, again, like I said before, you can have gals that look darn good for their age later on in life, but if she thinks that she can get the guy now, well, in time, you're not going to be as appealing. And since it's all a business deal, because she's making it out to be a business deal, well, it's not a good deal for the guy, all that. And not to mention, it doesn't sound like she has much of a personality. Anyway, guys, I thought this would be a really good example to show you the level of delusion out there and all that. And back to the 46-year-old who wrote in about her trying situation. You're 46, okay? Be happy that guys are interested in you at all, particularly given your attitude. And there are a lot of good men out there that aren't losers. They may not make the kind of income that you do. Sure, 200 grand, that's impressive. It ain't rich in a lot of parts of this country. It is in some parts, but it's not rich in a lot of other parts. Still, it doesn't make you entitled to a quote-unquote rich guy. And those quote-unquote rich guys, they're going to be looking for someone a lot younger, a lot better attitude, a lot better personality. And a lot of great guys out there that they may not make the money you make, but you know what? They're damn good people that do their jobs, that work hard and come at a moment's notice, like my situation last week. And you ought to really take that into consideration. End of story. Drop the microphone. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me just think about this. And, guys, you got a good story you'd like to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.